Call the meeting to order. For everyone, please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Butler.
Here.
Jordan.
Here.
Oakridge.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Thomas. Thrash.
Here.
Vincenzo.
Here.
6 members present, 1 member absent.
Okay, we have 6 members of council present this evening. I received a phone call from Mr. Thomas early this morning informing me, and he has in fact, effective today, filed a letter of resignation from his council seat in the city. These are for personal reasons, and he felt that this was in the best interest of the city and everybody involved. So Mr. Thomas is officially resigned, and we will, as council, take steps to fill that position within 30 days. I'm going to kick this around for council here very quickly. The previous situation where we replaced a council person, we accepted letters of interest with personal resumes of their qualifications and opened that up to the public, to whoever might be interested that lives in that ward. They have to be a 2-year resident of the city, and they have to have lived in that ward for at least 1 year. So they also have to be a registered voter. So that was the stipulations according to the charter. So I'm assuming that that is what council would wish to do to fill Mark's position. Does anybody have any input on that? Or
So we would put an advertisement in the paper for people interested to submit a letter of interest to us. We'd give a deadline. Then
Right.
we'd interview the person and we'd make a
Correct.
decision, and we'd have until the 15th of September to do that. Correct.
we have 30 days. From actually, I see resigned today, so with 30 days, I would assume starts tomorrow. So we have 30 days from tomorrow to fill the position from council. If we do not fill it within 30 days, then it becomes an automatic appointment for the mayor.
So I'll make a motion that we, I've got words here. I make a motion that we put an advertisement in the paper seeking interested citizens from the 3rd Ward.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Take a vote.
Butler.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Oakridge.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thrash.
Yes.
Vincenzo.
Yes.
So we need to get we need to get a deadline on that.
Right. That we also have to make sure that we know that, as the previous, this has been done several different ways, but the last time it was not a committee, the entire council sat down and interviewed the people that were interested. And I think the format that I tried to use the last time was that each council member would have 3 questions by themselves, what they would like to ask the people that were going to be interviewed. And then at that point, after everyone's interviewed, some of the questions obviously might be duplicated, but each person will have 3 questions to ask each individual candidate. So I'm assuming that is what they would like to do again.
Yeah, I think full council, those who are able to come, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, it was full council, yeah.
What's a reasonable deadline? What do you guys think? Like if today, if it goes, Jacob, you put it in the paper? Is it Jacob?
It'll be put in the paper, it'll be on the website. And
So what do you guys think is enough of a time frame? 26 is like a Friday. Is that's like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. Is that
The
fair?
last time it was only for a week. Council only accepted it for a week because of the 30-day deadline.
We're only gonna
If
have
we were
one
running
council
a little
meeting.
late,
This would probably be in addition to, we'd have to interview in addition to the council meeting. So the question is, how
Do
much
you have to
time?
vote at the council meeting, or is it?
Pardon?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. We always have, yeah.
Previously, the interviews were conducted,
But for the vote. we
and there
would-
was a vote by the council as who they wanted to
So we want
present to council for,
try to wrap it up by the 12th would be our next council meeting. No,
No,
I
fifth.
think
No,
we
the
should
fifth.
maybe try to go at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks.
Then we'd have to have a special council meeting, I
Right,
guess is what we're
right,
saying.
Well, you
Yeah,
can
we're
wrap
gonna
it up by
have
the
to.
second. That gives it almost 2 weeks.
Do you have any input on that?
2 weeks would be the 30th.
Just whatever council decides how they want to handle it. It's-
2 weeks would be,
Yeah, so.
2 weeks would be August 30th.
Yeah, if we
And
did
then
one
that
week
would give
last
us,
time, why don't
yeah.
we do the 26th?
and then that would give us 1 day short of a week until the meeting.
Well, that gives, it doesn't have to be that meeting, but we need to have a couple of weeks to get the applicants in, and we have to have some time to conduct the
That was
interviews.
why the last time it was only, the applications were only open for a week
Yeah.
because of the time frame.
So open the applications for a week and then take a week to
I would say 2 weeks.
gather.
I'm just telling you what they did last time. I
Yeah.
looked it up. It was just because it's been done a bunch of different ways.
I would say since we have,
Give them 2 weeks?
I prefer 2 weeks.
I would say give 2 weeks.
Let's say 26, it's a little shy of 2 weeks, but it's close.
Yeah, and that gives us 2 weeks to conduct interviews and,
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we technically, depending on how many we have, you know what I mean?
That's 2 business day weeks.
Yeah, so we should, and if we
Well,
don't, then we'll
but
get together real quick.
Here's the other thing too, you gotta remember, to get it in the paper by Monday, it has to be in by Thursday. So even if we got it in tomorrow, it wouldn't be published until Thursday or Friday of this week. So technically, you're only advertising it for a week.
We can advertise it on that.
The website and everything else, I'm just,
Can't advertise
have
it.
the advertised for a week, but they will be open for 2
Yes.
We'll
weeks.
say something on the news, so there's, it's already
Yes.
started.
I know, I'm
advertising,
just
yeah.
telling
Put
you
it on the
that-
website.
Yes,
Is that Robert? He'll show up and we'll get it.
he has a medical issue.
Okay, he won't show up.
He's
Not
got to be
tonight.
on the property.
Okay.
But like I say, it
Oh,
might
you're
only
from
be
Townsley?
advertised
So
for a
there
week,
you go.
Yes.
Robert's here in spirit, so.
Well, I'm just saying, it's here, so.
I'm okay with the 26th, if you want to take a poll, or?
For the deadline?
Yeah.
Very good.
A poll?
A poll. Vote?
Okay, we'll take a vote on the deadline.
Wait, Jim, I got a question.
It's this hard to pick it, yeah.
Jim, is it 6 months or is it 1 year residence? Because
1
earlier
year.
today.
1 year.
Okay, so it's not what we thought
2 years in
earlier.
the city and 1 year in that.
2 years in the city, 1 year in the ward.
Have these
Now,
nice
we
little
did
books
this-
that we
Okay.
It has to be
Yes.
2 years in the city.
City,
Got it.
1 year in the ward.
1 year in that ward, and you have to be
Third
a
ward.
registered.
qualified elector for 1 year
Okay,
of St. Clairsville, Ohio.
Right.
okay. All right, so we're gonna do the poll?
Yeah.
I say 26, my hands up.
I like it.
Okay. So we'll get that
3 p.m., 1 p.m., noon.
end of business,
Turn their
5 p.m.
commissioner down.
End of business Eastern time.
Closes
You
at
want, you
4.
want me to
We'll
do
go 4 o'clock closing of that day, or we close the business here. They can either bring their applications up here or submit it to the mayor's office or city service director or send it to Jacob. Council clerk.
I say the advertising has started now because it's in, and it'll go, can we get it on the website tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
And then it'll get the paper when it gets in, and they have until the 26th at 4 o'clock to get their letter of interest in.
That's good.
Then we'll set up interviews.
Make sure that the email address is active so they can email it.
And Jim, do you think you could maybe email us each a copy of the requirements that we had the last time?
Sure, yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
For the interviews one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get that out to everybody so that,
Okay.
and everybody also, even though it's a little early, obviously, but kind of be thinking in your mind the three questions that you would like to ask the candidates.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, you know, I respect Mr. Thomas's decision to resign, but, you know, he's, at every meeting, since he's been on, he's added value, he's been informed. Just wanted to note that.
Did you get your copy of the letter? I've got a formal one, and he's also sent one.
They were one
It's in their box
everyone's
of
mailbox.
his letter.
Yeah, I'm just acknowledging
Right.
the value he added to council and respecting his decision to resign. And I do think, Jim, when we said 6 council members present, 1 absent, I don't think that's accurate. There's no council person, it's vacant.
Well, it's
It's not effective tomorrow.
It's
Okay,
technically,
effective today.
it's effective today, so, but for the sake of taking the role that he was absent, then that's why.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other questions on the poll? No, okay. All right, we'll move on to the minutes. Has everyone received a copy of their minutes from the August 1st meeting? Does anyone have any question on those minutes? Hearing none, does anyone wish to make a motion to accept the minutes? Commissioner Trash. Do we have a second? Ms. Butler, take a vote on the minutes accepted.
Butler,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Oakridge,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Thrash,
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Okay, the minutes are accepted unanimously. Okay, we have several pieces of correspondence this evening. I think we'll start out with Belmont SWCD.
Okay. Hello, Belmont Soil and Water is once again planning to host the annual Boo at the Bike Trail event this year. The date we have set is October 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. I wanted to check in with the city to make sure it was okay that we have this event again this year on the bike trail. This event does not require the closure of any part of the bike trail or any nearby streets. The stations will include Oglebay Goods Zoo animal display, sensory games, face painting, door prizes, and much more. And of course, I will also be asking the Parks and Rec Department to haunt the tunnel again. Looking forward to planning another successful Boo at the Bike Trail with you. Samantha Hearn, Agriculture and Education Specialist, Belmont Sewer and Water Conservation.
Okay, does anyone on council have any problem with holding this event or giving them permission?
Is the tunnel open?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was closed.
We closed the overlook and the steps coming down from the roundhouse. The tunnel itself still open. And reopened after the huge oak tree fell last week.
Okay, I think all we need is a vote of council to approve this.
Not a poll?
We can do it either way.
I make a motion or vote?
Yeah, motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from Belmont Soil and Water.
Yeah, take a vote on that, please.
Butler,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Oakridge. Yes. Smith,
Yes.
Thrash,
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Okay, Jacob, we also have another one from Tri-County Health Center.
To the St. Clairsville City Council and St. Clairsville Police Department, the Tri-County Help Center has been a leader in education, advocacy, and support services in Belmont, Harrison, and Monroe counties for domestic violence and sexual assault victims, their children, and their families for over 3 decades. October is nationally recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Looking ahead, Tri-County Help Center is beginning to plan events to commemorate Domestic Violence Awareness Month in our community. One such event is our 16th annual Domestic Violence Awareness March, to be held Wednesday, October 19, 2022 at 6 p.m. Tri-County Help Center is seeking permission to and coordinated support from St. Clairsville City Council and St. Clairsville Police Department in advance. The annual Domestic Violence Awareness March begins at 6 p.m. at the Tri-County Help Center office at 104.5 North Marietta Street, with participants walking to the courthouse for a short program and returning to the office. St. Clairsville Police Department officers block off the entire street while Tri-County Help Center supporters march to the courthouse for the program. The entire route and program is completed in 45 minutes. Tri-County Help Center would like to thank the council for permission to hold this event, and Tri-County Help Center would like to thank the St. Clairsville Police Department, who did an excellent job in handling our past events. Thank you for your consideration and support, advocating for victims in our community. Chelsea Scott, Executive Director.
Okay, this is something that's against the bill every year. Does anyone wish to make a motion to give them permission for this event? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote.
Butler,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Oakridge,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Thrash,
Yes.
and Sinsel.
Yes.
All members are there.
Okay, we also have a piece of correspondence from Mr. Doug Walsh, Director of the Library. This is on behalf of the Library Board and Administration. I want to thank the City of St. Clairsville for partnering with the library on the grant-funded project to install a permanent story walk-along in the bike trail. Families can now walk the bikeway and read together pages of children's book, which library staff changed every couple of months to give a new experience. The grand opening of the St. Clairsville Storybook Walk was held on June 20th. Mayor Tallman was the keynote speaker for the event. Her sharing about the importance of reading in her own life was also inspiring. The public response on surveys has been 100% positive. People share that the story walk is enjoyable and new experience in the city, and that they plan to return to the storybook walk again and again. The grand opening received excellent publicity, and this reflects on the success of the partnership project. Jeremy Greenwood was a central partner of this partnership. This was a new type of project for all of us, and he is committed and extra planning to ensure the project's success. Darren Pitlack and employees of the department were also crucial to this project. They worked hard in the spell of hot weather and storm-related duties to install the walkway at the time of the grand opening. On August 8th, the library installed a new book on the storybook walk. The book is Find Fergus, a title offered to children enrolled in the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And that the installation helps us promote the Imaginary Library program for other areas, children from ages up to 5. Thank you again for partnering with the St. Clairsville Public Library on the Storybook Walk project, and together contributing to promote literacy and the love of reading in our life. That's best regards, Doug Walsh, Director, St. Clairsville Public Library. We have one other. Did you want to read that in your
Sure, I'll read it. About 3 weeks ago, we had the Consul General from Japan and his wife came to dinner with myself and 2 commissioners at Belmont Hills Country Club, and I received a beautiful card. This is a facsimile, doesn't quite do it justice, from Mr. Shindo. It said, "Dear Mayor Catherine Tallman, thank you very much for your warm hospitality you showed to me and my wife on our visit to your beautiful city of St. Clairsville. We enjoyed the conversation very much. We're so impressed with the beauty and friendliness of your city. We look forward to seeing you again. Sincerely, Yasuki Shindo, Consul General of Japan in Detroit." So, it's very happy to see that.
I think he did a good job. It was very impressive to foreign dignitaries, so I think we can take pride in that. Okay, I think that ends all the correspondence we have, unless someone else from council has something that they were sent that I'm not aware of. If not, we'll move on to the mayor's report.
Thank you. This will be short. I attended the ARC program on Saturday, August 6th at the amphitheater. It's a very nice event. highlighting a lot of the students with disabilities, and there was sort of an America's Got Talent. And I'd like to thank Kara Irwin for organizing this event. It was very nice. I'm sure Jeremy will apprise you of his meeting with Richland Township trustees, but we had a meeting following that with Hannah Carpenter from Soil and Water to maximize the project that we were discussing. And again, I'm sure Jeremy will give you the lowdown on that. I attended the concert on August 9th, put on by Friends Church. Again, a great evening of food trucks, fireworks, local talent. Good job, Eric, getting all that set up for him. You too, Donnie. I know you guys had to get electric and everything over there for him. I was at the Ohio Regional Board, Ohio Regional Hospital Board meeting. Things are moving along at Martins Ferry East Hub. They're anticipating having their cardiac cath lab opening within the next 2 months, and they are expanding their inpatient drug rehab program, which is now operational. They said the Da Vinci robotic surgery is very busy, which is a great option for people who have to have surgery. It makes it much more precise and a lot more successful. Met with City Law Director regarding various pieces of legislation, as well as several city issues we were working on. Friday, we had a monthly Fun Friday. I took ice cream around to the city departments to say thank you for your hard work. And lastly, the last gazebo concert was on Friday night. I guess there were probably, 60 to 80 people there. Mike, I saw you guys. And thank you very much, Eric and the team from the Rec Center, for making that a reality. I heard a lot of awfully nice comments on having music down at the gazebo. So that's it, Jim. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for the mayor? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Mr. Greenwood, Service Director, for his report.
Good evening, Council. Thanks, Jim. Council items before you guys tonight. We have 2 pieces of legislation, 2022-35 revolving loan. That's for the distribution project. That's we need that to be an emergency. And also 2022-36, that's the advertisements for bids for that distribution project also need that to be an emergency. We're looking to get that out to bid first part of September. Once they finalize some drawings, I'll bring a set for council to look at. Still have an issue with the gas aggregation program. I'm still working with the law director on that to get that determination going through. We're reminded weekly that there's 4 groups wanting to work with us on that. Meetings since the last council report, I've had 16 meetings, various different aspects and things. Completed projects, we completed smoke testing for Ward 1. We're moving on to Ward 2 this week. Also, the EPA did an inspection of our wastewater plant. And before Linda asks, no, I don't have a report on that yet. And yes, I will give you a copy. Upcoming projects, we still got the I-70 project, as reported before. We're looking October, November for that project to get it to get it moving. We were able to get in there and verify the existing casement pipe. That's a 42-inch outside diameter, so we're able to start ordering our things. The distribution system, that project, as I mentioned, is the first part of September going to be out to bids. Lead times, as we talked before, might be hampering the start of that project this year, so it may start, we may award the project and then actually go through and just allow the contractor to start ordering materials. Some of the stuff that we had spec'd is a 24-month lead time, so it's kind of a long time to be waiting for materials. As I mentioned, the sanitary sewer smoking, we started Ward 2 this week. The paving project on South Marietta has been pushed back to the first part of October. I'm still waiting on revised numbers for that north section of Route 9 there. Still working on the potential purchase of properties. As the mayor mentioned, we went to the township. Since the 2 properties down by the bike trail are not in the city currently, we needed letters and a resolution of support from the township and the county commissioners. Went to the township meeting and they voted 3-0 in support of the project. So the commissioners will probably be doing the same coming up soon. The water plant backup generator, we're going to need to be doing some repair work with that. Kind of talked about it in finance a little bit. It's a 40-year-old generator. We're getting some potential cost for a used one, and they're running between 40 and 60,000. It's a big generator. So, the mayor mentioned our meeting with Belmont County Soil and Water. Two things with that. One, they're actually working with us on the potential purchase of the properties for that Clean Ohio Water grant. They're going to identify any invasive species of plants down in that area and anything that we need to protect, and the invasives, come up with a plan on how to get rid of them. So that'll all be part of that grant. But there was also another grant that came out from Ohio for urban trees. That grant is up to about $25,000 for us to plant trees on city-owned property. So we're looking into that too, especially for the Central Park area to kind of go with the master plan we had there. I'm waiting on the county to get me back the water agreement that they sent us. We have less than a month before the deadline with the EPA. September 11th is the deadline. Working with the EPA about another possible extension. We're ready to go. We're just waiting on the agreement and waiting on the county to be able to supply us with enough water. Still doing the inflow and infiltration details and the administrative policies and procedures. I got another meeting with our HR firm this week. Department-wise, electric department, same things as always. Pole replacement, service work, street lights, disconnects, water and wastewater, I-70 project. We're still fixing hydrants and curb boxes when we need to, and valves. We've had 15 water line breaks this year. The sludge truck is still in for repairs. Unfortunately, one of the springs has broken on it now too, so we're trying to get that taken care of, as well as the issue that we had with the clutch. Mentioned the smoke testing in Ward 2. Also had an issue with a meter for a commercial account. The meter itself is only registering the minimum amount, which is about 2,000 gallons. In reality, the historical data is showing that they use about 29,000 gallons a month. So this is one of the things that we're looking into this week to see about. It could be why our water loss jumped from where we were about 28% up to 40%. So a couple of those. Street department, same thing as always, patching potholes, mowing, street sweeper, catch basins. They're working on culvert on Legion Road right now, or they were doing that today. They didn't get finished today.
No, we'll finish it tomorrow.
We'll finish tomorrow. And then, as I mentioned, the huge tree on the bike trail, which did we measure? I think somebody told me it had a 5-foot circumference around it, so that was a pretty big oak tree.
It was a 5-foot
diameter. We had to call in a company to work on that. So, rec center. I've got a whole list of stuff here. Eric has applied for a $1,000 grant through Serve Ohio. So we're waiting on that. Wednesday is Meet the Team night and back to school canvas drive for STC High School. Meet the Team will be held at Red Devil Stadium at 7 p.m. and then at 7:30 we're going to have one of the makeup concerts. Easy Street Band will be performing at the amphitheater. Concert is being sponsored by Whitesides, Mason Dixon Barbecue, Chef's Table, Kirk's Ice Cream, and Jack Snacks will all be at the event as food and dessert vendors. We've also got flag football signups going on now, girls volleyball signups, adult sand volleyball signups, fall baseball, and all of those registrations end on August 29th. And then from the last meeting, wanted to know that we did have 4 interviews for the program supervisor, and an offer was extended to Mr. Rocco Balog, and he started on August 1st. Police, Matt, you've got a report. I'm assuming not much was going on since I was out. Good of the city, we've got one out that's recovering from COVID. He's actually had a scheduled vacation, so he had COVID last week. I talked to him this weekend, and he said he was feeling fine, and then he was going to be out on vacation anyways. And then since I missed the first meeting of the month, I want to go over the employee of the month. Actually, is one of our summer workers. started this year. He graduated from St. Clairsville High School in 2021. He has an excellent work ethic, works well with all our personnel. He is a history buff with war machines, jets and tanks. Loves doing modeling kits. On his other free time, he likes to skateboard, likes to go on the bike trail, plays video games and gardening. And then, unfortunately, though, he will be leaving us in October and starting an electrical apprenticeship in Columbus. But this month's Employee of the Month is Mr. Jerry Edgate. And that is everything.
Thank you, Jeremy. Does anyone have any questions for Mr.
I do. Did we happen to discuss the rate of pay for the program director?
It was it was in the advertisement, and then based off of what his qualifications were. So
we didn't discuss it at council?
No.
And, well, yeah, we are supposed to.
Not for administrative policies.
The design and construction, and/or construction, who is actually designing it, the water facilities? Or is
The
that something
distribution
that's going
system
out
is
for-
Jeff Vaughn, Coast and Vaughn.
Okay, was that bid out, or
No.
did somebody just say he could do it, or?
We basically went through when we were doing the phase one and needed estimates for the grants. So we went through, had him do the estimates, and then we were going to advertise for bids. And then that's when the state came through with the $5 million, and we had our timeline, so we just rolled right into it.
Okay, did we discuss this among council?
Probably not.
And also, when will we receive actual copies of the phase 1 and 2, what
As
the
soon as
actual
they
plans
finish,
are?
as soon as they finish it and get it finalized. But as noted last time, and the time before that, and the time before that, I have a set of drawings, they're just not finalized, and I've offered and extended to council to come visit, and I will sit down and go over the project with anybody.
Thank you.
Beth?
I was just wondering, I could have asked the mayor also, the status of the fence on that Pinecrest property?
The materials are supposed to be delivered tomorrow, and Tom knows he's going to go up and check and make sure they are. So we're on top of that. That's
Appreciate it.
on my radar.
Great, thank you.
Don?
Any results, what were the results on the smoke test first ward? Was it?
I have to verify, but there were, how many, like 20?
About 15 to 20.
15 to 20 violations, different
Just the
things.
first ward.
Right, but
Yes.
out of about how many houses, 15 or 20? 15 to 20 houses, or?
No.
No.
Tom, what's the first ward?
Well, there are approximately 2,500 structures in the city, I think, and so a quarter of that, 600 or so
Yeah.
right now.
Okay, so it's a low percentage.
Yes.
Fair.
And so on that, homes that, what is the resolution to that? What is the fix?
I have a letter that I'm working on with Elizabeth, and then a policy that we need to develop. We'll have a policy based off of what the actual violations are, if it's downspouts, if it's something else, if it's a yard drain, and we'll have the amounts there. What will end up happening is, since the EPA will eventually come in and fine us with it, we're going to do an assessment fee onto that property. We'll have so much of a grace period to allow them to try and correct it. If they do not correct it, then that assessment fee will be placed on them, and they have a certain amount of time to fix it. And then if they don't, we're going to try and reserve the right for us to hire a contractor to come in, because the EPA will be fining us if not.
In most
So-
cases, is it a major repair?
No.
No.
Some of them, like one house on Green Tree, had the downspouts were connected to the sewer. So literally for $75, you can turn them out, cap them, and be done.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Jeremy.
Welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to Police Chief matter events. Chief?
Good evening, Council. Keep it nice and short. The kinetic breaching tool that we discussed last meeting has been ordered. There's about a 90-day lead time before we'll have it in hand. And I'd like for everybody to keep thoughts, prayers, fingers crossed for Officer Justin Work. His wife is currently in labor, and they're awaiting the arrival of their second child. And that's it.
Does anybody have any questions for the chief?
Is the officers that delivered the other baby, they delivered this one?
Yeah, I think now they want paid.
Okay, thanks, Matt. We'll move on to Finance Director, Beth Williams.
Good evening, everyone. My assistant has been off for about 6 weeks, so thank God she's back. And I'm just finishing up the last few pieces of the audit. It should be finished soon, my end of it. So they were here for 3 days on site. And that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for the Finance Director? Okay, we'll move on to Planning and Zoning Administrator, Mr. Murphy.
Thanks, Jim. The Board of Zoning Appeals, they did meet August 3rd and approved the variances for both Trinity Health System and Ed Personowski. Another matter, we were able to find a contractor with a W-9 that is willing to cut grasses at the property that we have in limbo. We currently have 3 properties at this time. My understanding and hope was that they would have that finished this week. So I actually stopped out today with the hope that they were finished about 3:30 or so, but they haven't started on them yet. That's it.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Murphy?
So they are, you saying they did start mowing these?
They haven't started mowing them yet, but they submitted their bid, and they texted me today to say they will be doing the properties. I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Okay, that concludes the administration reports. We'll move on to the council committees. First,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was waiting for Elizabeth. I thought I had questions for you on those ordinances, on the legislation
Okay.
tonight.
We can discuss it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to the finance committee, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, the Finance Committee met this evening before this meeting. Not much this week, but we went over the revenue and expenses. Revenues are 55% as of end of July. Expenses are about 41%, so it looks like our money is being spent wisely. We talked about, Sonia had a question on this resolution. I had some questions that I can relay to council. My questions were, what's the maximum pre-approved limit on the amount that we can borrow? Jeremy's going to find out. Also, my question on the interest rate, and we let him know it's 0%. And the lender is the EPA, which I didn't know they were in the business of lending money, but if they can do it at 0%, that's good. So yeah, that's going to have to be, if we can, pass it on emergency so we can get moving on that, on both of these. And Linda will have some questions on those. And I'm sure I'd like to hear them as well. Once we talked about the opioid money, we haven't received that yet, but we're going to, Chief Barbenz is going to spend that money wisely, I'm sure. In some fashion, it is for whether it's bringing a speaker or new equipment or whatever. That money will be put to good use, but we haven't received that yet. And I think it's, the auditors are in also. The audit's being worked on right now, so I don't know how long that would take, probably, I would imagine a month or two till we get the final product, the final report. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Does anybody have any questions for Mike? We'll move on to utilities. Claire, do you have a report?
I don't have a report tonight, but our next meeting will be September 6th, right? Because Labor Day is the 5th, so it'll be September 6th at 6:15.
Okay, police committee, Beth,
Yes, there will be a police committee meeting tonight after this meeting,
after the meeting.
after tonight's meeting.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to streets north side. Mr. Vincenzo.
Yeah, last council meeting, I brought up there, we had a request from a citizen to put a children playing sign up down on Legion Road. And I would like to thank Mr. Smithberger. We not only got one sign up, but it looks like you have 3 up. And quick work, and I really appreciate it, and I know the citizen who asked for it appreciates it.
There's
Thank
one more to go up there too.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have.
Okay, we'll move on to street south side. Mr. Thrash, do you have anything?
No report.
Do you have anything on safety?
No report.
Thank you. Okay, building and grounds. Ms. Jordan?
All I have is what I've given you, that is the South Park Court. For those of you who have not seen it, that's what it looks like. This is the court that the kids in my and JC's neighborhood have played basketball on. We were told that the money was in the budget. All we had to do was pass the budget. We passed the budget. But as you know, nothing has been done with South Park. Council, we are the legislative body. We need to decide what we want to do here. This is the only neighborhood park in the city, the one and only. And this is what it is. So just thought to ponder so council knows.
What do you suggest?
Well, as I said, we were told the money was in the budget. Nothing was brought to us to discuss about it. You know, we need to do something.
So Jeremy?
Where's the $60,000 deficit from the fuel coming from? So South Park or Pond Snow this year?
I don't know that you did not come to council regarding it. Whatever
South
you're-
Park or the
See,
deficit?
this
Because
is-
I have to be able to balance the budget.
This is what I'm saying. We need more communication from you regarding these kind of things. You're supposed to come to council.
I have
You
said
don't
that
go
the
and
last
do things
5
and then
council
come to
meetings.
us.
The last 5 council meetings, I've talked about the budget and things.
As I said, you're supposed to come to us.
5 council meetings.
Right.
The last 5
Right.
council
And you
meetings,
know
I've
what-
talked about the
Do you
budget.
realize what you
and the
said the
deficit.
last meeting regarding South Park? That we had to budget it. But
It's
there was no
budgeted.
mention of it. There was
It's in the
no
budget.
mention of it when we first started to discuss it.
I will
when we
look in the
passed that
meeting minutes.
budget-
It's in there.
When we first passed that budget, there was no mention that we can't do South Park now.
Yes, when it was first in there, but then the inflation rate and the fuel costs went to $5 a gallon for diesel fuel.
Right.
We
and
have
did
to
you-
make up that money somewhere.
And that's what I'm saying. Did you come to council to say
don't-
that we need to do
I
this?
have to come to council to balance the budget. We have to make sure that we balance the budget.
Okay, so you come to council. This is what we need to do.
And that's what we've said the
This
last
is what
5
we
council
need to do.
meetings, that we're waiting on
We
these
need to let
projects.
South Park go, by the way. Okay.
I'm not wanting to let it
I
wait
don't
to go to the
wanna
South
argue
Park.
with you, Jeremy.
But
during
but
the
you
meeting.
are.
I don't want to do
You're
that.
not listening.
I am.
The last 5
I
council
am.
meetings, I've said, we have a budget issue. We have a deficit in our fuel costs. That money has to come from somewhere.
Is it fair to say it's coming from other places other than?
It's coming from everywhere. That's why. And then also, as I reported tonight, our fuel, not the fuel, the backup generator for the water plant is crapping itself. That's not in the budget. That money's got to come from somewhere. I've only have so much money and I have to balance the budget. I don't want to abandon the project, no, not by far. But I have to wait till we get to the end of the year to see where we're at revenue-wise and financially wise. Because if not,
South Park budget for
50.
50 grand.
Is that something that we have to formally transfer?
Yes, we will have to transfer. So it will come to council, but I want to get to closer to the end of the year before we make a decision.
If it needs to.
If it needs to. And if it doesn't, then it's the same thing. We'll roll it into the project that it was intended for. But
The 50,000, is that to cover a new surface for this?
it's basically to redo the court, redo the location, and then get a new road cut in up there. So the court will actually be rotated. It'll be rotated in order to facilitate getting a new road in there so that the access road is not on some citizen's private property.
So where does the Corps of Engineers come in on that?
They're the ones that do the dirt work, just like they did for the high school.
If we do some transfers, can we get that way ahead, so, because we'll have to approve, obviously, as to where the money's gonna come from?
The fuel, we've got 40 to 50,000 on the traffic control that we're still gonna be paying that wasn't accounted for in the budget. We've got some major things when we get closer to the end of the year. I know we're in August, but there's still, if you look at our revenue, it's not kind of where I'd like it to be.
Mike, did you just report to the finance committee that our expenditures are at 41%?
48.
I'm sorry?
48.
They're at 48%?
I thought it was 48.
44. 34, 41.
I got 40 on the last
40.
page.
So our expenditures thus far this year are 40% of where we thought they'd be?
Mhm.
So that's a good thing?
Yes.
And our expenses are at 55%?
The revenue is at 55.
The revenues are 55%.
Yes. And like I said, we still have to pay for the mini excavator that will be in this week. Some of the other equipment we got, the backup generator that we're gonna need to take care of now, the fuel truck, the fuel and the sludge truck. These are all things that weren't budgeted, so the money's gotta come from somewhere.
And they weren't budgeted because we didn't need them in January.
No, didn't anticipate them.
I'm going to try to get one clarification here, just as far as the engineers are concerned. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in order to relocate the court and do the grade work that has to be done, the Army engineers are going to come in and do that work for us at basically no cost.
The cost of fuel.
Cost of fuel. If we rush this project and bypass waiting for them to do it, then we will have to go in and do the grade work ourselves, hire a private contractor, which would be an extremely larger amount of money than just paying for the fuel for the engineers. I do know that's what they did at the football field, and unfortunately, they had to wait to the availability of the engineers to do that, because that also would have been a ton of money. So what roughly are we looking at potentially for a cost that we?
No idea. I haven't even gotten into it because
So
of the amount.
it's an idea that we're going to be, if we rush it and don't wait on the engineers, we're going to be spending a ton of money just to do the grade work. That's the way I would have it.
Engineer support too well.
Any other questions?
Well, just to make sure I'm clear, we're not saying it's not getting done. We're saying it's not been done.
Same thing as the restrooms, it's just wait and see where we are financially. I think that would be the prudent thing to do, especially since we only have so much money and our costs are escalating more than what we anticipated.
Anyone else have any questions for the service director? Okay, any other thing on building and grounds, something? We'll move on. We don't have the planning commission. Tom's covered pretty much everything there. Next will be the fire district. Linda?
No report other than I think everyone got the invitation for the unveiling of the monument. Okay. I'm sure everybody's gotten it. It is September 11th, 11 o'clock. There will be a picnic after.
And it's right out here in front of the museum.
In front of the courthouse, yes.
Anybody have any questions for Linda on the fire district?
Next meeting is this coming Thursday, 9 a.m. at the firehouse.
Yes.
Okay, Jeremy pretty much covered everything on the recreation. Mr. Thomas, again, is no longer a member. Eric, do you have anything? Okay.
You don't want to go up to that microphone?
No, I'm good tonight.
Okay, we'll move on to Park District. Linda, do you have anything to report there?
I do not have a report, but I just figured this would be a good time, since it's the end of summer, to let everyone who doesn't know that the park is actually a privately owned entity, and it is governed by the board of directors. And I've had people say to me, I had one person say to me, well, you should do this with the park and you should do that with the park. Well, as a committee chair to the park, for me to insert myself into their affairs would be like a township trustee inserting themselves into the affairs of the rec board. So just to let everyone know, that's how that goes. The park, the majority of the park is in the township. Very little is within city limits. So I've said this before, but just for those who haven't heard it or paid attention.
I didn't know that.
Hey, Linda, I was going to mention, I think the park, Memorial Park you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, all of Memorial Park, other than where the city trail is,
Yes.
within the city, but you're right in saying that the city doesn't have control over it.
Right.
But just to clarify that a little bit.
Right, yes.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Linda on the Park Board? Okay, that moves us on to ordinances and resolutions. Law Director Elizabeth Cook.
We have two pieces of legislation before us tonight. Both have to do with the water distribution system improvements. First one is resolution number 2022-35. That's a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of St. Clairsville to apply for, accept, and enter into a water supply revolving loan account WSRLA agreement on behalf of the city of St. Clairsville for design and/or construction of water facilities, and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency. Typically, when entities enter into water improvements projects, this is the funding agency they go through with the state. The legislation that's before you tonight is their standard legislation that they provide to the municipalities or the water and sewer districts or townships. You basically format it to the way you do your legislation. But the language is theirs. They do that for uniformity. So they don't have 10,000 different versions of legislation. It is a 0% interest loan, and our dedicated repayment source will be user fees. So basically, those of us that buy water from the city will be paying for the repayment of that loan. The second one is ordinance number 2022-36. That's an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Services to advertise for bids and accept bids for the water distribution system improvements, phases 1 and 2, and declaring an emergency. And this, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, this is basically to get the contractors on board and to bid out.
Yes, to bid out the project.
Bid out the project. Like Jeremy mentioned before, lead time for equipment is sometimes 2 years out. So this will allow the contractor to go ahead, get on board, start stockpiling the equipment we'll need.
Okay. This might be a question more for Jeremy or Annette. I forgot to ask earlier, it says for design and/or construction of water facilities. Administratively, do we have to report back to them? Like, because we can only spend the money on this, right? I mean, so do we? Is that part of the audit? Do we know, or do they come in and look at the records? Or
Do you mean the EPA or?
The lender?
I mean, we would have to go back and just like with the water tank at the end of town, same thing, that was, some of that money was from the EPA. So there'll be a follow-up afterwards, and they'll come in and they'll look at everything.
Okay.
This is just kind of a curiosity question, this one is. In previous years, it's always been the service director that's been entered into the revolving loan. Why is it the mayor this time?
The
Just out of
legislation,
curiosity.
yeah, the legislation that came from the state requested it to be the mayor, yes.
Okay, and my next question was, it says designating a dedicated repayment source, and then in section 2 of 2235, it says that source will be, as you said, user fees. Now, is that saying rate increases? Is that what that's meaning, or is it just meaning something else?
That's where the funding will, that's where the payment source will come out of. Whatever we generate in fees, the
Okay.
loan will be paid out of that. Some entities set up their own line items. Some, some water and sewer districts have a surcharge, and they use that surcharge fund to repay those fees, those loans.
Okay, so those user fees, that's decided at a later time, or is that after?
The fees that they have now.
Right, it's the fees we have now.
Whatever the fees
Oh, okay.
are now
Right.
are.
Right.
Okay, all right,
Our
thank
bills.
you.
Your bills, exactly.
Yeah, and if the
Thank you.
bills
Yeah,
go
those
up,
are-
then-
yeah.
Okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean they will.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. And then Linda, were you done?
I am, thank you.
Just, and we don't know what an amount is gonna be yet.
For the loan,
Yeah.
we're thinking 1.7, but we're in the process of figuring out if we need to borrow more because of the inflation rate with the project.
And is there a limit to how much we can?
I don't know, that's
That's
what
the
Mike
question
was
Mike was
saying.
asking.
We originally, with phase 1 of the project, before we got the $5 million grant, we were gonna borrow 3.1 million.
In these phases, these are the things you said, we're welcome to come to your office and look at. and
I
walk
have a
through.
drawing set down there right now.
Okay, if there's no further questions, we'll move on to the legislation. Jacob, would you read first piece of legislation, Resolution 2022-35?
Resolution number 2022-35, a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of St. Clairsville to apply for, accept, and enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the city of St. Clairsville for design and/or construction of water facilities and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Okay, that is the first reading. They requested emergency passage. Does anyone wish to make a motion to consider this legislation emergency?
I move that the rules requiring ordinances and resolutions be read on three separate readings, be suspended and declaring an emergency.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, at this time, we'll take a roll call vote on considering this legislation an emergency.
Butler.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Cooperage.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thrash.
Yes.
Vincenzo.
Yes.
All members in favor.
Okay, it's unanimous, 6-0. This will be considered emergency legislation. Jacob, would you read for the final time?
Resolution number 2022-35, a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of St. Clairsville to apply for, accept, and enter into a water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the city of St. Clairsville for design and/or construction of water facilities and designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Okay, that's the final reading. Does someone wish to make a motion to pass this? AC, second. Take a roll call vote on passage of the legislation.
Butler.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Oakridge.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thrash.
Yes.
Vincenzo.
Yes.
All members in favor.
Okay, resolution 2022-35 has been passed as emergency legislation. We'll move on to ordinance 2022-36.
Ordinance number 2022-36, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Services to advertise for bids and accept bids for the water distribution system improvements, phases 1 and 2, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, that again is the first reading. They've requested emergency passage. Does anyone wish to take further action on this piece of legislation?
I move that the rules requiring ordinances and resolution to be read on 3 separate readings be suspended and declaring an emergency.
Here we have a second, Mr. Smith. Okay, again, we will take a roll call vote on considering this emergency legislation.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Yes.
Vincenzo? All members are in favor.
Okay, this will be considered emergency legislation. Jacob, will you read this, the final reading?
Ordinance number 2022-36, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Services to advertise for bids and accept bids for water distribution system improvements, phases 1 and 2, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, Mr. Thrash, make a motion to accept this. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote on passage of the legislation itself.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yep.
Smith?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Okay, ordinance 2022-36 has been passed unanimously as emergency legislation and it's out for comeback. Okay, that's everything on the agenda this evening. Before we go any further, does anybody have anything that we can bring up at the last minute?
I just want to, if we have this deadline of the 26th for people interested, how, like, would keep us in the loop?
Right, well,
Right.
I think, we'll get with Jacob, we'll get this out in the press and everything, and Linda requested some information on the procedures of what the requirements are for everybody, and that's what we're getting out to everybody also.
Yeah, and by the 26th, when we do the deadline, because we want to start setting up interviews.
Correct.
Right, and
Right.
so just if you can keep us abreast of who's interested, so we have that after the 26th, appreciate it.
Okay, we do have a meeting this evening for the police committee afterwards in the small room.
In the small room.
Up there.
Yep.
Okay. The next council meeting will be Tuesday, September 6th, due to the first Monday in September being Labor Day. So the next meeting is Tuesday, September 6th at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. Need a motion to adjourn? Second? Hold.
Yes.
Adjourn.